There is a surprising amount of hate for Starfield across the internet right now, and also a bunch of love, but I want to talk about what's been going on with this game because it seems bizarre that this project is coming out next year sometime and already is just so controversial. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and as you can see, I actually have a bunch of the newly released Starfield gameplay up on the screen. And I will say that currently, I'm cautiously optimistic. I do think this is a very bad gameplay segment. There's pop-in, there's terrible frame rates, there's some obvious resolution issues and stuff, but as it stands, I think it's going to be your typical Bethesda game. Glitchy, but fun. As it currently stands though, they've been doing a bunch of interviews and doing some sit-down discussions with like Todd Howard, the director of this game, sort of explaining what specifically we're going to be doing in Starfield, and it sounds like the more they discuss this game, the more people get incredibly pissed off. But let me begin with this, which is that this morning I woke up and I did a poll over on my Twitter account. Now this has been retweeted by a bunch of very big Xbox YouTubers and PlayStation people, so the numbers can be a bit skewed one way or the other, but what it is I said, how are you feeling right now about Starfield? I put looks fun, seems unfinished, or totally boring gameplay, and as you can see, currently it already has almost 5,000 votes, so maybe do me a favor, like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's see if we can get this to 5,000 likes. Now, inside of this, the replies have been fascinating too, because some people have said, you know, it might be a broken Bethesda mess, but at least it's going to be on Game Pass. I'm very much in the middle. Some people saying they're not feeling it at all. I have mixed feelings. I find it interesting that so many people seem to be on the fence, despite the fact that they've shown so much gameplay, the fact that they've actually been very explicit with what this game is going to be, people still seem to be a bit lost. And I feel like part of the hate is coming from statements like this. So right now, they have talked about the fact that Starfield is going to be essentially Skyrim in space. It's going to have quest hubs, it's going to have randomized loot, it's going to have a lot of fun NPCs to explode into gooey bits, but a heavy focus of it is space exploration. But they confirmed yesterday you cannot fly and land directly on planets. Can you fly the ship straight down to a planet? No. We decided early in the project that on service is one reality and when you're in space is another reality. Now this has been completely exploding with negative feedback. You can see here that people are saying this game sounds like poop. Oh my gosh, this is just another reason why No Man's Sky is the definitive space exploration game. Some people are saying this is sounding frustrating. Look at this. Can I at least go into a building without a loading screen? A lot of people seem to be just like, okay, this sounds very, very disappointing. Well, what's interesting is that a lot of Xbox people are sort of defending this, talking about the fact that Starfield is most importantly a Bethesda RPG. It's not trying to be a space simulator. It's not trying to be Elite Dangerous or No Man's Sky. It's just trying to be Skyrim in space. I think part of the reason that people are just so disappointed about that, though, is because they are saying that this is going to have over 1,000 explorable planets. So the fact that each one of these is going to be load screens, each one of these, you're pretty much going to just be pressing the fast travel button to go to, that does seem a bit, disappointing, especially because they have now said they've created a lot of these 1,000 planets with procedural generation. Now, procedural generation obviously gets a bad rap. I do think that procedural generation is very often overused. What this is essentially, instead of handcrafting an entire cool building or trying to make tons of different quest hubs and stuff like that, what you do is you put in different programming parameters inside of a computer and it spits out the environments. It randomizes the loot, it spaces out all the different like bonfires or checkpoints and stuff like that. Now, to be clear, procedural generation is used in some of the best games ever. In fact, right here is a reply. Games that do have procedural generation are things like Red Dead Redemption 2, Zelda Breath of the Wild, Horizon Forbidden West, Elden Ring. A lot of these games do actually have procedural generation purely because it helps them just sort of flesh out those boring corners of a game so they look realistic even if you're not typically interacting with them. Now, part of the reason people don't like procedural generation is because of the launch version of No Man's Sky. Obviously, here we have the creator of No Man's Sky. Procedural Generation could definitely go too far. The fact that this does have 1,000 planets, it seems like more people are concerned than hyped about it. I keep seeing tweets like this. People are saying that 1,000 planets is great. You people clearly have never played a procedurally generated game before. It's not impressive or overwhelming. Go play a roguelike. I'm not saying it as a positive or negative. It's just a buzzword. As it currently stands, I think what I'm most curious about is how big the game is truly going to be to play. The fact that they're saying it's going to have 200,000 lines of dialogue, the main quest is about 20% bigger than past games, so about 30 to 40 hours, 4 major cities, more handcrafted content than any Bethesda game, no seamless travel. That's kind of what's hit and miss about this, is that these screenshots are cool, but still, if this doesn't have that native cool experience to it, I've played almost 600 hours of Skyrim, and a lot of that has just been sneaking around in dungeons to level up my stealth attacks. It's been trying to max out skill trees. It's been doing every single main and side quest to get the Platinum Trophy multiple times on the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and the PlayStation 5 versions. But when it comes to Bethesda, a lot of times it just means how much quality and how much is quantity. A lot of people seem to have very much hated Fallout 4. I'm actually a bit of a Fallout 4 lover. I do think that the criticisms of Fallout 4 from being too short, very basic dialogue options, I think all the criticisms of Fallout 4 are extremely valid, but I still had a good time with it because when it hits, it absolutely hits. I am concerned when they say the 1,000 planets sort of tagline though, because when I think of that, 950 of these are definitely going to be completely empty wastelands. They've already basically said that only some of these will even have civilizations on them. Most of these are going to be desert rocks that you're going to land on to get minerals and resources to fuel up, much the same way that you did in No Man's Sky. But that's also sort of what sticks in my brain as a negative. Personally, I don't like the idea of flying to dead planet to dead planet to dead planet, vacant area to vacant area. To me, that seems extremely boring and something that's going to kill the experience. I liked lived-in worlds. I like that custom-tailored experience, especially because this is a purely single-player game. I would kind of rather have 1 or 2 big cities that feel good, that feel important, that you can go to and help people out instead of 950 empty planets and 50 that probably have a freaking tent sitting in the middle of the woods. Now, as it currently stands, obviously it is difficult to properly critique what is going on with Starfield because it is still a long way off. I still think the graphics don't look great. I still have my concerns about it, but as it stands, I'm going in as optimistic as possible. I really do like Bethesda games. I do like the fact that somebody described it in my comment section yesterday. They said, Bethesda games are the best boring experiences. And I think that's correct. Bethesda games are not pulse pounding. They're not intense. A lot of times the characters are rather poorly written because their motivations are like, I must kill the king, or I'm the king and I don't want to be killed. But I still think that's part of the fun of it. Freaking Bethesda games are the ultimate sandbox. They are a toolkit for us to craft fun experiences inside of. If Starfield manages to create that, if the 30 hours of main story is as fun as it seems to be, I'm definitely down for it. But I will admit, the fact that it's going to be on Game Pass, that does help. I mean, even if this game launches broken, which a lot of games do come out completely unfinished, I'm still going to play it on Game Pass, and I'm hoping that this is a little bit smoother than the last couple Bethesda projects. I hated Fallout 76. I still hate Fallout 76. The fact that that's still the most recent Bethesda experience in my mind, it can't help but sort of taint my vision as to what this game is going to turn into. Hey, are you having a good day? What are you doing? Looking at the replies to my original tweet, it's still just fascinating to me how many of them are negative. How many people seem to outright just assume that the game is going to be tame, it's going to be milquetoast. The amount of people that are just straight up saying that right now, it definitely still needs a lot more time in the oven, but hopefully it's going to be fun. As long as it's fun, as long as it's interesting, as long as it's freaking great, I'm happy. But still, it's interesting how many people are upset about that no seamless flying. Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, though. Please, if you enjoyed this video, give it a big old thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. Man, holy heck. I wish I could play this right now. I want to go to the future. I want to get a crystal ball and see if Starfield actually turns out good. We'll see. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.